Well, hello there and welcome to the candy wallpapered upstairs hallway of the dollhouse for another reading and quasi-comprehensive commentary on The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Hugh Stelfers for January 8th, the day of the Big Bang. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of the Big Bang. Well, we have us an image of, what could it be? Well, boom, it's a pineapple there. But if you look at the base from which it's protruding, and imagine that as, say, an island of sorts, it looks a little bit like a mushroom cloud. And it looks like my autofocus has given us a good reason to see how to do that there. Oh, yeah, it looks a little bit like a mushroom cloud. Day of the Big Bang, that's right. Now, I don't know if that's an adequate representation of the day of the Big Bang, but hey, who's to say? Maybe we'll make some kind of connotations as we get on with the read. That having been said, not altogether all too important. What is important around these here parts is it's January 8th, and hence it's somebody's birthday. So if it's your birthday and it's January 8th, I just want to extend to you a heartfelt happy birthday. That's what's important. But if this video finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, whatever the case may be, I just want to say I hope you had a happy birthday. But for everybody else who's joining us, ideally to celebrate the January 8th birthday, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, something I like to do around these here parts, this is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake and roll some dice. But I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake here. And one of them landed on the rag here, so it kind of muted itself. I rolled a 1 and a 4 for a 5. Almost a company logo today. The colors are swapped. In any event, you're probably wondering what synchronicity is, folks, and so let me try to break it down here for you. It's just you being able to recognize that the universe is with you on your path. Because too often we get out in the world and we kind of got the blinders on. We're very singular or laser focused as we get on with our everyday's goings on there. Be it the commute to work or maybe just running some errands. We're not necessarily seeing the things that are going on around us there, or at least not the finer things, because I've heard it told that the universe or the powers that be will put things in our path to help us realize our goals or our aspirations. But if we got the blinders on, hey, we might not just see them. And so this is an exercise of getting those blinders off. That's right. And identifying the signs that the universe puts in front of us. With a sign we can't help but notice. That's right. Your daily numbers. So you don't have to go with the numbers that I rolled for you. The intention is there, but it is ideal you take your own set of dice. So you can ascribe directional values to number sets and time limits with which to go in those directions. But once you've got all that established, I don't know, pick out a place in town, say the town square. I often like to go there in my example there. Not necessarily in real life, but you pick out a spot, roll your dice, your time limit, and set off. But that being said, make sure you get those blinders off, like I said. Start soaking up everything around you like a sponge, because you never know. The day might start to take on a theme. You might just start to see these numbers creeping up everywhere. And also, we're out here to have fun, and so you never know what you might see. The things that you would otherwise just, ignore. So we want to take all that stuff in. So you get off on your first time value, directional value time limit. Maybe you don't see anything of note. It's just the typical goings on of the town. Well, hey, stop, compose yourself, look around. Just be, don't be too hard on yourself that it's not working. Hey, maybe you look up and see the street sign and it just so happens to be old Fifth Avenue. All right. I'd take that as a sign you're on the right path. But even if you don't see that, hey, you know what? Give it a moment. You're not seeing anything of note. Really just soak it in. And then if you don't see anything, hey, roll your dice and head on out to the next one. But that being said, hey, look for anomalies too. Maybe you just so happen to notice amongst the crowd of people that are just going about their days, somebody's wearing something that stands out. It might not even be a person. It might be a thing. Maybe there's some gentleman on a bike that's pulling a little bit of a stroller type thing. Hey, use that as a sign there. I'd say roll your dice and find out how long to follow them for. That's right. Maybe it's just a hot orange color. And it's like that stands out amidst a sea of otherwise blasé colors. So follow that individual there for a little while. And maybe that individual happens to notice you're following them. Well, hey, you shouldn't have been stalking them there. No, in that case, folks, just be very open, transparent about what you're doing. Show them your dice. Show them this video. You know what? They might just be kind of blown away about as much because, all too often, folks, they want to see, taste, touch, feel a little bit of magic in their lives. And you're out there chasing after it. You know what? They might not have anything going on in their life or their day anyhow. They might just be apt to join you. And you know what? That would be great because as I've heard it told, the more people who are focused on a single result, the more chance you're going to find some manifestation. So if you get that individual to join you, focusing on your daily numbers and the universe showing you that it's with you on your path, it's apt to do so even greater quantities or in grander ways. So hey, maybe you two set off, or he goes, where are we going next? You say, I don't know, where were you going? So you follow him. Maybe it just so happens he was taking you to the farmer's market, the pineapple stand, perhaps. You never know. Hey, maybe the pineapple starts taking on a little bit with a theme there. Maybe you start seeing them on stickers, bunch benches, and just advertisements for Dole. I don't know. You never know what's going to happen. But I think you get the idea. So get on out there. Let the universe show you it's with you on your side. See, taste, touch a little bit of the magic. Maybe meet some new individuals. You're opening yourself up. You never know what the world's going to present to you. So, like I said, I think you get the idea. Let's get on with the birthday read. Your month is January. Your day is the 8th. Your sign is 17 to 19 degrees Capricorn of the Capricorn II period specifically. And your quality and element is Cardinal Earth. All right, January 8th, the day of the Big Bang. January 8 people seem fated to make a tremendous impact on life around them. They are not necessarily outgoing or overly demonstrative, but nonetheless lend each of their social or personal meetings an air of importance and convey such a strong sense of their own being that people come away feeling deeply impressed. Whether physical individuals or not, and many born on this day are not impressive in this respect, perhaps even disadvantaged, it says in parentheticals, the solidity of purpose with which they communicate is their unmistakable trademark. Not infrequently in their careers, those born on this day explode suddenly on the scene, and they seem able to channel every ounce of their energy down to a cellular level into one presentation, performance, or product. Their capacity to concentrate their full energy in limited space or time is symbolic of their way of working. Hence the possible big bang of their explosive power. And knowing what they can do and what they can't do means rarely overshooting, idly dreaming, or projecting fantasies that have no basis in reality. Others may see them as very far out, taking chances that no ordinary person would take, but those born on this day are comfortable with themselves in a variety of situations. And typically, January 8 people calmly call into question certain established axiomatic truths which either colleagues on a career level or family and friends on a personal level have always taken for granted. They do not so out of rebelliousness or contrariness, but simply because, having studied the situation carefully, they have come to forceful conclusions. Not all January 8 people are blessed with great talents, but they do an enormous amount with what they have been given, and often driving themselves to the limit. And overcoming handicaps, both physical and psychological, is an important theme in their lives. January 8 people must learn not to drive themselves so hard and to make things a bit lighter for those who can't handle their intense, concentrated energy. They must also work on being more accepting and forgiving, the latter quality particularly important as many born on this day can fall into a with me or against me kind of personal politics. Ego traps and conceit can be their undoing if they come to think of themselves as godlike while viewing others as ant-like. All right. How about that for a birthday breakdown? It was rather concise, all things being considered. Sometimes they fill the page. This time they only did about 2/3. That being said, I think they got their point across, even though it was rather narrowly or laser focused. And that's kind of been the dominant theme here with the Capricorn period. I don't know why. Normally, there's only one day or one particular numbered day that they focus like that with a laser focus. But here it's been writ large for the whole period. So I don't know why that dynamic in particular seems to present here. But within that particular narrow focus, I think they expanded quite a bit and gave a nice, well-rounded idea of what that particular narrow focus accomplishes for you within that scope. That being said, like I said at the top, I want to provide a little bit of a comprehensive or quasi-comprehensive commentary. So let's dive into what I had to say or what I took notice of or found interesting. All right, we got January 8th, the day of the Big Bang. All right, you're seemingly fated to make an impact on life around you. And the reading claims, despite not being overly expressive, you still have an inherent ability to convey an air of importance in your own being that leaves people impressed. And the reading is rather specific in relating this doesn't necessarily require a physicality. Your solidarity of purpose is your brand-specific trademark. And I would say I know the exact kind of personality type that they mean. The reading also claims at some point you may make an explosive entry onto the scene, channeling all your energy to make a splash, and said splash happening in a limited time or space, which gives it a much more important effect, I would argue. And it correlates the relevance of the title of the day, I would say, which they don't often make in such a direct way. Having said that, it's said that you rarely overreach or dabble in unrealistic prospects. So from the sound of things, you're very pragmatic and measured with your energy, ostensibly saving it for when it either matters most or is going to be needed for your intended purposes. And hey, that's very pragmatic to say the least, and important, I would say. But as measured as you may be in this respect, others may not interpret you interpret as much, considering, or what am I trying to say here? In this respect, others may not interpret you as such. There we go. Considering the chances you may take in such a capacity there. Which conveys an idea that you may exist within or affect a paradigm others can't comprehend or necessarily approach. And I would say you also, much like folks born on January 7th, gravitate towards an out-of-the-box type of thinking, especially if this claim that you question truths others take for granted is in fact true. It's an admirable quality, sorely lacking writ large with most of the folks born in the world today. Not necessarily born, but the personality types that we encounter. Because it's impossible to teach, and hence it's priceless to possess. All right, so I would say just don't take for granted your own powers. All right, even if you haven't quite found them yet, I think you got the potential, right? I also appreciate it even further if, as the reading relates, you have no real discernible talent. It's possible that you have this power and drive, but no particular talent. But with that drive, I mean, just who knows what you can accomplish with it, even without talent. So I think that's commendable there. It's also just like, I think that inspires a certain amount of something to it. You know what I mean? This person's just doing so much, and they can't really accomplish very much easily. That's another thing, too. So admirable, I'd say. Having said that, the reading warns to beware of your strength and your energy because it may be too much for people. And if you want to overcome this, you're going to have to work at it. All right. As a with or against me type motto, could work against you. That's right. So in any event, that's what I had to say about the birthday breakdown. I got a little disjointed there a couple times. That's okay. Read the same lines if you like, but it happens. One shot, one take kind of thing. Let's try to make up for it with your numbers and your planets. All right, let's get into it here. Those born on the 8th of the month are ruled by the planet Saturn. And since Saturn symbolizes caution, limitation, and fatalism, and because their sign Capricorn is also ruled by Saturn, January 8 people are given powers that can have deep, serious, and lasting effects if they choose to use them. And those ruled by the number 8 tend to build their careers slowly and carefully. But January 8 people are more likely to burst suddenly on the scene as if from nowhere. And although they may be warm-hearted, those ruled by the number 8 often appear cool or detached. All right, what I have to say about your numbers and planets here. This was a highly personalized numbers and planets. I think they've been missing that here and there on occasion the past few days this week. But here nor there, it's not something that can be drilled down upon. I think the last period towards the tail end there, a lot of copy-paste jobs. They're just bringing things over. Though maybe I might be wrong in that because it's such a dynamic period. They had to personalize it. Here you have the Saturn dynamic, and so they might have had to personalize it for that reason too, because it's so specific and not common. That being said, I might be getting ahead of myself, so let's dive into the notes once again here. All right, the numbers and planets. The number 8 in the constrictive planet Saturn for rulership, and as the reading claims, has powers of deep, serious, and lasting effects, with symbolism of caution, limitation, and ideas of fate. I used to think fatalism meant something about like fatal, death, but no, it's about fate. Saturn usually imparts a rather conservative nature, at least by my mind, so it's rather interesting if not unusual, much like yesterday, day of unusual interest, that the breakdown seems to buck that dynamic, at least in conventional terms of conservatism, limitation, no waste, reservations. Your big splash seems completely opposed to such terms. But perhaps it completely speaks to your measured, steadfast approach that builds that energy for an ultimately romantic effect. All right? Who's to say what a conservative nature entails, but I certainly don't ascribe such ideas to conservative influences going into it. Having said that, everything else, a cool, detached exterior, a warm heart, slow-built career, I would say that does seem right in line with kind of a conservative nature. But again, who's to say? I just, right off the top, I was like, this doesn't feel conservative to me. Someone who's bursting onto the scene and making a big splash. But again, we come in with these preconceived notions. We might be right off the money. Who's to say? But that having been said, that's been your numbers and your planets. So let's move on to your tarot. That's right, the tarot. One of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies. But hey, it's here in the book. We don't have to take it home with us and deal the cards out to predict our future or however tarot cards are used. But it's your birthday. Sometimes we can make some connotations with things that are brought up in the birthday, and you never know what you hear that might inspire some kind of inspiration. So let's get into it here. The 8th card of the major arcana is Strength or Courage, which depicts a graceful queen taming a furious lion. And the queen symbolizes the female magician who can master rebellious energies and stands for moral as well as physical strength. And the card's positive attributes include charisma and determination to succeed. And the negative qualities include complacency and a misuse of power. All right. This was a total copy-paste job here, but sometimes that's the trade-off if they highly personalize the numbers and planets. So let's get into it here. I had a little bit to say about it. Strength and courage for mastering rebellious energy, and standing for moral and physical strength, charisma, and determination to succeed. All right. So an apt card, it seems to almost inform the breakdown. Having said that, it leaves one to wonder just how accurate and the negative qualities of complacency and your misuse of power may in fact be, if that's the case. Complacency to say, should you let go of your energy and drive, not just to consider how hard it may be to get started back up again. Maybe you set it down for a time just to take a break. And how hard is it for you to get back up to that? And I'd say inertia works into that, though they didn't mention inertia. Inertia needs that force to be acted upon in order to get moving again. But there's also the idea of a psychological toll that could take, right? That kind of inaction, if you're not working, how's it going to affect you mentally? But if you get too powerful or abusive in your position also, who's going to get hurt or what will be the cost, all right? Interesting ideas to think about, I would say. At least if that's if the negatives happen to apply the way that the positives did. So in any event, that's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. All right, your health. Those born on January 8 must avoid isolating themselves within an ego structure where they come to think and act as if they are infallible or invulnerable. It is crucial that those born on this day keep up with customary social activities and never lose touch with their roots, their background, their family, or their friends. Also, a strong moral or religious framework for their ideas may help keep them from wandering off on the wrong track. Down-to-earth, simple diets are advised for January 8 people with an avoidance of rich foods if possible. Great caution should be taken with addictive drugs, particularly depressants such as alcohol. Mild to moderate exercise is highly recommended on a daily basis, including getting outdoors for long walks. Non-competitive sports are also suggested. Particular care should be taken with the bones, posture, and skeletal system in general. All right, hey, pretty specific health entry here for you today, although I have seen some that drill down a heck of a lot more. But in any event, what I have to say here. And beware being isolated in the world created from your splash, all right? Losing not just your roots, but getting away from the source of your energy, I would say. They don't bring up health or psychology, but I can't help think that's a concern here. Who's to say? Grounding diets, avoidance of drugs, exercise, it also helps keep you even-keeled from the sounds of it. Hence the long walks, I would reckon. Time to just kind of decompress. Why they mention non-competitive sports, I can't quite reckon. But again, maybe to maintain that even keel and that mental solace. Bones and veins are a Capricorn body area, so maybe take note of maintaining that. However that may be done, your supplements and vitamins there. I think the veins, you got to watch out for animal dairy fats and the like. But hey, that's what I'd say about your health. Yeah, what else here? Normally they've been bringing up sleep quite a bit. They didn't mention that for you here, but it's been such a through line the past few days. Hey, you maybe take note. It might help you out there. So yeah, don't lose your sleep, especially if you need to make a big splash, right? I would say so. And even that's been your health, so let's move on to some advice. All right, your advice here. Don't get carried away with yourself. Deepen bonds of love and empathy with those around you. And be prepared to give and take in an easy manner as well. Remain open to change and take some chances. And don't give up your spontaneity for the sake of success. I would say, I thought you took a chance in making that big splash. That was my read by as much. But hey, maybe they're just further endorsing that idea. Perhaps if you haven't made one yet, that's right. Be prepared to take a chance. All right, am I getting ahead of myself? Who's to say? I had to write it in the book, so bear with me if I go out of frame or get a little bit mumble-mouthed. Yeah, I had to write it in the book. All right. They said don't get carried away with yourself, all right? Stay measured. If it got you this far, all right, it'll take you the distance, I would argue. So don't get in a hurry either, all right? It says deepen your bonds. I'd say broaden your energy with that of others. Maybe even enrich it too if you do as much, all right? They said don't isolate. I think they said don't isolate. Yeah, don't isolate. And I'd say that'd be something that takes you away from that. You can't broaden out if you isolate. Unless maybe you're reading a lot of books, perhaps. There's always an argument to be had, right? Give and take in an easy manner, they said. All right. Staying measured again. Maybe certain things don't have to go off with a bang. All right? I don't think they made mention of you taking on that role, like you always got to make a bigger splash, but don't let that get you. All right, if it does. It seems like things get out of control sometimes for some people who do as much. So let's see here. Don't give up spontaneity for success. All right, remember, that's what they said. What I have to say here. Remember what you got and what you did to get where you are. All right, assuming you want to maintain that. Don't try to change the dynamic too much, all right? Reinvent the result of your efforts, perhaps, if you want to see some kind of different dynamic, but not necessarily the results that allowed you to make them a reality. All right. I mean, perchance. Try it out, see what happens if you want to shake things up, but don't throw it in the trash, I would say. That's right. Don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. That's right. So, anyway, yeah, just don't get carried away. You need to quit adding to it. Anyway, that's been your advice, so let's move on to your meditation. That's right, it's your birthday, you get a meditation. Okay, let me get the book adjusted here so I stay in frame. Those lost in their own myth can cut a fine figure, but generally make poor human beings. Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. And I've been staring at pictures of those born on this day. So that, I don't know, that gives me a certain little insight into a perception of this meditation. Let's do it one more time here. Those lost in their own myth can cut a fine figure, but generally make poor human beings. All right, that's your meditation. I don't want to throw some kind of spin or my interpretation on as much for it. It's just for you. It's your birthday, and me telling you what I thought about it would probably influence it, and wouldn't be doing you any favors there. It's just for you. That having been said, I thought it's kind of interesting. I did mention that, like, I'm looking at people, and that gives me an interpretation of as much. But you know what? It's interesting to me, like, what this means to me versus what it probably means to you based on the people or the personalities we are, especially if your personality is in line with the breakdown and everything we've gone over. I'm probably not making a coherent argument, but it makes sense in my mind. That's been your meditation. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror and see where we got the bulk, the muscles, if you like, and where we're otherwise atrophied, I suppose. That's right. Your strengths and your weaknesses. All right. Your strengths, you're self-confident, you're influential, you're intense. Oh, I don't know that I necessarily got that from the reading. It's not you make a splash, but intense. All right. But your weaknesses, oh, let's hold up the objective mirror, but flip it to the side that blows up your face, shows off all the blemishes and stuff you might be superficially insecure about, so to speak. That's right. Your weaknesses. Okay. You're conceited, unforgiving, and you're heavy. Oh, interesting. I didn't pick up on the heavy there. Okay, hey, what's all this about, your strengths and your weaknesses? You know, a lot of times this stuff comes up, and it also trade back and forth between strengths and weaknesses dependent upon the day. So I like to argue that our weaknesses can also be strengths. It just depends on the situation there. So if you want to improve upon these things, that's great, all right? But don't necessarily get rid of them altogether, I would say, because not only do they make us who we are, but we might be able to use them in certain situations as strengths, all right? With that being said, if you do want to, bring them back a little bit or improve upon them at least, I would say that your strengths are going to get you there, all right? You're self-confident, influential, intense. Look, you've got the confidence to get after it. You're influential, so maybe you're going to bring in the people that you need to help you get over those things, because otherwise, if you weren't, they might not give you the time of day, right? I don't know. That's just the top of my head is coming up there. And you're intense, and maybe you're going to get after it with a certain amount of strength and make a big splash on improving upon your weaknesses. That said, heavy came up, and for a long time, it made me think about weight. But somebody brought up in the comments that it's about the energy you bring. It might just be too much for people. And they said that here in the breakdown to some extent. So don't think it related to weight, though. I mean, if you wanted to, I suppose. Unforgiving, I could see how that's a weakness for sure, especially in regards to other people. But as a strength, I can't think of something, but I know if I got creative enough, I could think of how it's a strength. Maybe unforgiving in your strength and intensity. That's right. You keep bringing it. Though those could be the same thing there if you've thought about it a certain way. And conceited. Well, I think I know what that means, but I'm not entirely sure, so I'm not going to try to drill down on it as a weakness that could be a strength. It's like self-consumed, I think. You're only thinking of yourself. In a certain regard, hey, you know what? There have been some really selfless people in this particular period, and so much so that they advise that they rein that in a little bit. Here, I don't know. Maybe it's a strength in some regards. Sometimes you have to be selflessly selfless and look out for yourself because other people aren't going to do it. So you know what? It's a strength for those people if they use it. But you know what? Just temper it back a little bit. Maybe that's the thing. I wouldn't abandon being selflessly selfish because you got to be selfish for yourself sometimes. Shellfish, you got to be selfish a little bit sometimes. Any event, those are your strengths and weaknesses. So let's move on to those born on this day. And when we get into those born on this day, something I like to do is not only see who shares your company, but look at it through the prism of using it to inspire us to figure out our passions. And why do I say that? Well, too often I get out in the world and meet people and ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it, and they don't. But you can't necessarily blame people for that because right out of school we're trying to make ends meet, so we just take the first job that comes along, or maybe we're having trouble getting a job we like, and so we have to get the one that we don't necessarily like. But hey, over time it gets easy perhaps, and we just fall in line and start climbing that corporate ladder, and before you know it, we're just rolling out of bed and punching a clock. But you know what? Does that make life fulfilling? I would argue it doesn't. What makes life fulfilling is like a purpose, a passion, if you like. And so if there's anything I can hope for you on your birthday, it's that you're chasing that in your off time. And that's hard because you gotta put in time and effort to figure those things out a lot of times. So if anything, hey, maybe seeing who made it into the book here and what they did might fuel a little bit of that fire of your own to get back on the horse and start figuring out your passions. But if you already got that figured out, hey, maybe you know how to make it financially viable. And we can take some inspiration in that respect as well. Or maybe me just putting a bug in your ear about all this, like I said, helps stir up the fire. So let's get into it, all right? Those born on this day. We start off strong with Elvis Presley, the rock and roll singer, film actor, icon, 45 gold records, 21 movie hits, and died at the age of 42. We also have Stephen Hawking, the British physicist, cosmologist, did I say that right? I think so. Cosmologist and the theorist on the origins of the universe, famous for A Brief History of Time. We also have David Bowie, the British singer and songwriter and film actor. We also have Shirley Bassey, British singer, Jose Ferrer, film and stage actor. We have Robert Krieger, a guitarist and songwriter for The Doors. Bill Graham, a rock impresario, entrepreneur rather. And it says Fillmore West and Fillmore East. Must be businesses he created. We also have Yvette Mimieux, British film actress. Frank Nelson Doubleday, a publisher. We also have William Wilkie Collins, a British early detective story and fantasy writer, and responsible for The Woman in White. We also have Soupy Sales, a TV personality and comedian. Never heard of them before. Hans von Bülow, German conductor, pianist, and married Liszt's daughter, Cosima, who left him to marry Richard Wagner. We also have Prince Albert Victor Windsor, dissipated son of Edward VII, and died at the age of 28. We also have Sherman Adams, Eisenhower campaign manager and special assistant, accused of accepting favors and resigned. We also have Alexandra Ripley, a novelist of Scarlet, which was the sequel to Gone with the Wind. And we also have Louis Lapham, Harper's editor, and Sander Van Keur, a TV journalist. We also have R.D. Bandar. Oh, this one's going to stump me. Let's see. Bandar Nike, I think, perhaps, Ceylon prime minister and assassinated by a Buddhist monk for advocating Western medicine over traditional remedies. Jeez, that sounds like a heck of a... I didn't think Buddhists were capable of such a thing, but hey, you know what? People surprise us. They make a big splash, right? All right, let's pick up the energy from the bad news there. We have Charles Osgood, a TV journalist and an anchor. And we have our last one here would be Jean-Marie Straub, French avant-garde film director of Chronique, I guess. It's a lot of artists born on this day. My Lord. Did they all make a splash or a big bang, if you like? hey, perhaps. I don't know. It's just, I know I said I hadn't heard of one of them. I hadn't heard of many of them. It's just Soupy Sales is an interesting name for sure. That having been said, I don't know. I know it's a big ass tall order to try and take passion or inspiration for our passions from other people's accomplishments. But like I said, maybe just putting the bug in your ear about as much help you stir the fires. That being said, like I said, if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, that's the path you're starting to head down. Because we just want to be getting out of bed doing backflips, either figurative or literal, to get into our day. Just be eager about as much. And you know what? Like I said, if I can wish for anything on your birthday, it's that you're going after your passions. That being said, that essentially rounds out your birthday reading. I butchered some names, so let me make up for that on my side. I almost forgot. It's not done in malice. It's just hooked on phonics. Doesn't often work for me. But that having been said, this has been January 8th, the day of the Big Bang. Your season is winter. Your sign, once again, was Capricorn, of the Capricorn I period specifically, and your quality and elements is Cardinal Earth. What does that mean? Well, that's a different video altogether. I'll leave it at the end for you if you want to check it out and find out more. But this has been The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up a copy and getting through it quicker than I can for you, or putting it on your bookshelf so you can bring it out for parties and get the party started right, the conversation flowing for better or for worse. It's going to do that and more. Let me tell you something. And hey, you can't beat that. Let me tell you what, because a lot of folks I've seen, they love this book. So I just want to extend that to you too if you hadn't even heard of it before. That being said, the book having been relayed, not altogether all too important in that respect. Not in the scheme of things. That's right. The scheme of things being it's your birthday and me wishing you a happy birthday. That's what's important. So once again, happy birthday. But for everybody else who joined us randomly, hey, I hope you enjoyed yourselves as well. And you join us for your birthday reading also. See what you're all about there, hopefully. That being said, lest I forget, that's right, your daily numbers. Get out there and let the universe show you it's with you on your path. And if you see, taste, touch, feel, smell, intuit, even just a little bit of the magic, you'll understand why I brought it up for you. Because you should be having some fun on your birthday too, I suspect. I would hope, and if no one's got anything planned for you, be selflessly selfish and plan some for yourself. Expand your horizons. Get the blinders off, all right? Do yourself some favors. See what happens, all right, if anything. That being said, that's not just for your birthday boys and girls there. That's for everybody, all right? Get out there. But having said that, once again, I just want to say happy birthday. Thank you for the pleasure of your time. I really appreciate it. And you know what? Thank you for letting me celebrate your birthday with you, all right? Happy birthday. Take care.